Hey, everybody, and welcome to And Action Filmmaking Podcast. I'm Tommy DiNucci. With me, as always, is Mikey Messier, and we're very excited. We're turning another page into a new chapter. This is our last episode of 2023. Mikey, we're talking all about our filmmaking, movie making goals for 2024, what we plan on cooking up. I always find it really helpful to list out at least a couple, two, three things that you want to do in the upcoming year and stick to it. And I'm not talking about quitting cigarettes or not drinking as much. I'm talking about actual uh, goals for our career, for our art form, how we're going to move this thing forward. So, Mike, that's what it's all about today. But before we wind this shit down, how the hell are you? What's new?
I'm doing good, buddy. Last week was a fun episode. We did our interactive episode with many keys to Heartbreak monologue, and people were very positive about it. And I think we can do that again in the future. We can show more stuff and kind of have live time response. And also, Tommy, I want to encourage our audience today to join in the fun. If you have any goals that you want to share, film goals, or if people want to get a little personal, that's okay with me. If it's okay with you, share those goals, and we'll try to keep each other accountable to them for 2024.
Yeah, I would love to get the comments popping today. Today is one of those days where we can all kind of, we got a nice little community that we've built here on the show. Be cool to hear what everyone has in mind for next year because, these years are kind of funny. They go by real fast. We have the highest hopes in the beginning of the year of all these things that we want to do. Before you know it, it's the 4th of July and you haven't done a goddamn thing. And then it's Halloween, you're passing out candy, you still haven't done a fucking thing. And before you know it, the turkey's on the table, the Cowboys are on TV. You still haven't done the motherfucking things that you set out to do. So we're going to try and put a stop to all that and talk about goals and talk about some ways that you can kind of structure those goals and actually make them come true.
Well, Tommy, before we and I hear you, buddy. I mean, it's natural that some things. It's like the first week of the year in the gym where it's packed full of people lifting weights, right? And then come February or come after the Super Bowl, half the place is cleared out, and another month or so later, you get 10% of the people that were there at the beginning of the year. But Tommy, on a positive note, I'm sure that despite the big strikes this year and time off and stuff like that, you did a couple of really good things or a couple of big things. And was there any goals that you put forth like in late 22 going into 2023 or anywhere along the lines that you're proud of or you feel like you accomplished or you're still working on? Was there anything in this past calendar year that we can reflect on before we move forward? Because I think sometimes we forget about that part of the process of analysis of our previous year's goals rather than just moving forward to the new stuff.
You kind of said it, man. It was a tough year because a lot of the goals that I kind of set out got put on the shelf, and I'm not trying to blame anything on the strike, but as creatives in the film industry, there really wasn't a whole hell of a lot we could do. Looking back, I'm not here to. This show's not about patting ourselves on the back for the things we did last year, but I feel like I did a pretty good job of keeping my head above the water, despite really not having a ton of avenues uh, to make money. In the business. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I wrote a documentary that I'm excited about and proud of. Found a way to stay creative. And one of the things that I did last year, which although it's not a 2023 goal, kind of kind of dovetails into my goal for 2024. We'll just get right into it. I can't say too much just yet, but a lot of people in my inner circle certainly know I was trying to make this movie down in the southern part of the country for a long time now. Pre-strike, we were about to go. We were about, I'd say 2-3 weeks away from actually traveling down south and prepping the movie and shooting it, and then the strike came. So it was really challenging to kind of have that hit me. But what I did with the time off while we were in the strike season, I was just prepping that movie. I was working on the script, I was crafting it. My co-writer and I were just like diving into this thing on an almost daily basis, visualizing every scene in the movie, every frame. So it's just one of those things where I tried to make the most of the time that I had, and I think the goal that that's going to put into is I got it written down right here, brother. I want to make the best movie that I've ever made in 2024, by far, like knock out any other film that I made if you line it up against it. And this one that I'm about to go do, uh, you know, fingers crossed, everything goes well. I think it's going to be my best movie ever, and it's not just me saying that. Like that's my goal is to make it my best movie ever. Um, and how do you do that? Well, how do you make it your best movie ever? Well, I think the reason why I think it might just be able to be my best movie ever is the fact that I've had all this extra time. Like I can't really think of another time in my career when I've had 5 months to kind of just sit around and think about the movie to the point where if I really had to, I could close my eyes and almost see every frame on my eyelids right now because I've been thinking about it so much. So sometimes you got to take or they say make the best of a bad situation, and that's what I tried to do. So that's my first goal. Not that we're gonna do this game show style, but yeah, man. I mean, my goal right off the bat, like what I'm thinking about, I'm so hungry to make, another film after being dormant for 5 months. It was really great to get on set and work on The Last Tenant, which is a Lifetime movie that I just directed. And now I'm like I get the bug again, It was almost
Sure.
that was almost like a tease, and now I'm just like, man, I want to make another movie really badly, and this is the movie that I've been kind of you can almost say toiling over for 5 months, 6 months, maybe even longer. I mean, I think we started writing it in February. So again, I wish I could say more about it, and I will be able to. Coming up in the beginning of the year, I'll have some official announcements. I don't want to let any cats out of the bag that'll lead me to getting fired or something, because that
Can
would
you give
suck.
us just a broad genre, if not title, just the genre at least?
Yeah, it's a crime drama, it's a crime drama, but there's actually a little bit of romance in there as well. There's a little bit of not a lot of comedy. It's not really a super funny movie. I mean, there are fun moments. There are definitely moments that the audience will smirk, but it's a pretty dark film, and I'm excited about it. It tells the tale of a dirty cop who's kind of been in business with some bad guys, and now he's just trying to get out and sort of cash out. It's a common thread, that we hear in a lot of these mafia stories. Once you get into this life, it's really hard to get out of it. You don't usually retire when you're an arch criminal. You usually either go to jail or die. You rarely, you know, get put out to pasture and have a nice little retirement. Um, so this movie's all about, maybe recognizing a mistake that you made and trying to get out before it's too late.
You don't get to retire to Hawaii and put your feet in sandals and walk on the beach with your mafia money. Well, for your crime drama, Tommy, I think you hit it just a few minutes ago. The time that you got in 2023 is going to serve you in 2024. And we've mentioned that term big picture stuff, and especially when people are trying to build a film career, entertainment career, acting career. A lot of times, man, it's so easy to get caught up in the weeds and the what's happening right now. And a lot of my actor friends, buddy, and myself have been guilty of this. You get so worked up if you don't get cast in this big important role, or if you don't get a call back or whatever. And the reality is, big picture is where it's at. So I think you've got some perspective on this. You've had 5 months extra to put time into this story, this crime action drama, and I think it'll pay off. So that's positive. And if you had to say that there was a positive for 2023 with all the strikes and everything, you've had that. And to your credit, you put the time to work. You didn't just sit there on the shelf and okay, I'm just going to put my script on the shelf and watch Roman Reigns wrestle for 5 months. You actually made use of that extra time. So good for you.
I appreciate that, Mike, but the reality is, like, that's just the nature of, like, who I am, and, like, I'm obsessed with this shit, you know what I mean? Like, this is, like, what I live off of, creating, anybody who watches my, everything from my Instagram stories to my YouTube shorts, like, I'm always making a little movie, even if it's a 5-second boomerang of my action figure. It's a story that I'm trying to tell with a camera. So I just love doing it, man. And I couldn't even think of just like, okay, well, let's just take a break here. Um, so that's a big goal of mine. Make my best movie of my, line them all up. This will be the best one. How about you, Mike? What's a goal of yours for next year that you can think of?
Buddy, I've been thinking about this a lot, and for me, I want to take a little bit of a show and tell thing. There's a podcast I've been listening to for since the summer. Buddy, you've seen me in action. I go to these coffee houses and I get caught in these random conversations with random people. I'm one of those people that, for whatever reason, people seem to just tell me weird stuff. And this weird, I wouldn't say weird, but kind of a unique fellow in the Starbucks around here told me about this podcast, and he kind of said, "Oh, well, you listen to this podcast, don't you?" And I had no idea what he was talking about. But I started listening to this Order of Man podcast, and the gentleman provides on his, of course, he's got something to sell too, but he has this compelling vision thing,
I
and
don't think
basically,
our viewers can see that, but it's a
I'll put it
little
back.
mission. It's a mission statement. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is his mission statement. Okay.
yeah. It's basically. So I'm going to work on that, and I think the thing, rather than, I do have a few goals which I'll share with you, but I think overall, if you put your goals together and kind of come up with a vision, I guess is the idea of where would you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, or
Hmm.
even a month from now. If you start thinking in terms of that, and I think one thing, buddy, that I'm a little bit weary of goals sometimes, especially goals in filmmaking, when the filmmaking industry is so collaborative in its nature that I think you can kind of set yourself up for potential disaster if there's too many goals that you make that are dependent on the involvement of other people. And either other people living up to your expectations, other people coming through for funding or casting or whatever. I think that can be really tough.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of interested in seeing how this discussion goes with filmmaking and goals. For me, I'm kind of more this exact moment thinking more about my writing and specifically novel writing. I want to do a rewrite of one of my books that's already published. I kind of saw some things, just little things, little nuts and bolts stuff, commas, apostrophes, a sentence here or there that I want to go back. But I kind of decided, buddy, I'm just going to start from a page one rewrite rather than go into the document that's already, I'm getting to the weeds here, but rather than go into the document that's already there and trying to fix it, there's too many fixes. I'm just going to start from page one. So that's with my fighter play basketball novel. And then I have a script that I wrote years ago that kind of became in a bit of a way, a Harvey Weinstein parody. It's called Margins. And I'm going to go in there, and I've already started doing this. I'm going to write it as a novel. It's a stage play now, but I'm going to novelize it. I've started to do that on Kindle Vella. And I, once again, buddy, creatively kind of said, wow, this is going to be fun, but I kind of have to take a step back from this script and reread it a couple of times to get a handle on it because it's been a couple of years since I wrote the original stage play. We did have some good fallout last week. Our mutual friend Ariana expressed an interest in my stage play version of A Distance from Avalon based on the short movie we had. So that's always nice to get some encouragement from people out there. And,
Yeah, absolutely. Uh,
you know,
you have a lot of goals, Mike, right off the bat. That's a lot. I'm trying to just take them one by one and digest them.
sure.
It sounds like you know, you're doing something that I think is very wise, which is going back to the well on an old project and trying to dust it off. I think we did an entire episode on dusting off old projects. It's a very important thing to do, and this is a great time of year to do it. It's
Right.
it's almost like a great time of year to do an inventory check on your work. What do you have in the kitty? What were you tinkering with a few years ago, 2, 3 years ago, that you just abandoned for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent? Maybe it's time to breathe some life back into that. And when you're starting this year off, it's like, oh, I already got a couple projects that I can kind of shepherd along. So I think that that's a nice thing that you're doing, Mike. I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, here's another goal that I have for this year. Really just keeping in touch with people a little bit better, within the industry. There's a lot of people that, I'm talking actors, I'm talking producers, I'm talking people that I've worked with. I've said this before, and we've done entire episodes on this, on how to keep in touch with people. Well, guess what, guys? This is the perfect time of year to randomly reach out to any motherfucker in your phone that you maybe lost touch with. There's nothing wrong with, reaching out to an old friend and saying, "Hey, happy holidays. Hope Christmas is going good. Hope Santa's going to treat you whatever the fuck you want to say, whatever kind of holiday greeting bullshit you plan on cooking up. Now's the time to hit them up because then it's like this has happened to me before, man. It's so funny. There have been times when I need somebody for something, right? I got to reach out to them. I need a favor or whatever. And it happens to be like in January. And you say to yourself, fuck, man, I wish like just a couple weeks ago I reached out to this guy and said Merry Christmas or said, hey, happy holidays. Because then it would have been easier for me to hit him up in a couple more weeks and ask him for a favor. So I know this stuff sounds ridiculous, but it's really all part of these odd little communicative games that people play without even knowing that they're playing them.
Yeah.
I had a good friend who he actually invested in something. He I shouldn't say he invested in me. He hired me to write a screenplay. The screenplay didn't end up getting made, but it's still on the shelf. Maybe it will happen. And there's a guy that I hadn't talked to in a year, and for around Thanksgiving, I just reached out to him, and it was really nice. We had a nice little catch up, and again, person I hadn't talked to in 8 months. So now's the time to break out your say hello to friends and everyone you meet, like the song says. And that's in Have a Holly Jolly Christmas while you're at it. Let's say what's up to Kim. How you doing, Kim? Things are going pretty good over here as we're winding down 2023. Ariana, what's up, Ariana? Mike was just chatting about you. Yeah, it's been an interesting year. Ariana and I have been working on a Christmas script. Actually, we're gonna meet later on today and hopefully come getting really close to finishing that first draft off. So this is kind of a fun time to be writing a Christmas script, considering we're deep in the Yuletide kind of festivities over here. So yeah, again, one of my goals is to just catch up with people and be a little bit better about that. I've probably squandered a couple of opportunities and relationships by not just checking in once in a while when it would be so easy to shoot a text message out. But we all get inside of our own heads sometimes, and you feel like you might be bothering someone, and you're probably not. So this is just a reminder to use this time of year as a great opportunity to say what's up to some people.
This is just a little aside on that, Tommy. I have friends, I have a specific friend from an actress that I've worked with in Maine at this film school, and for 10 years, buddy, she's a texter and I'm a caller. So she likes to text me randomly, and when she does, I try to reciprocate with an actual phone call, to which I'm always greeted with the voicemail. So after,
Yeah, people hate that. People do hate that. Just so you know, though, Mike, that is almost like a weird behavior. No, it is. Like if someone texts you, that means like I can't, like I don't want to talk right now.
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, I don't like the long text game, like the
Sure.
extended text. I just find like I'm not a 14-year-old girl, in eighth grade, texting to my buddy about whatever's going on. So if
Well,
someone
hey
wants
now,
to,
I don't know that we need to genderize texting. I
or
don't think that's fair.
age or eyes. But if someone wants to have an extended communication, my theory is we can bang this out in a 5-minute phone call or a 10-minute
Sure.
phone call. And I'd rather hear somebody's tonality, especially a friend that I haven't seen in person for 10 years. So
No, I'm not knocking it, Mike. I would too. I'm just saying, hold on, I gotta.
you got to fight the sun. Here comes the sun.
Oh. All I'm saying is traditionally when people text, they're texting you because maybe they're in a spot where they can't talk and they just wanted to shoot it out there. But yeah, it's funny. Your point leads to one of my points
Sure.
and Mike, I've gotten really good at this. There's something I will pat myself on the back for this one.
All
Because
right.
God damn it, it's
Barry Horowitz.
brother. Yeah,
Barry
brother.
Horowitz time.
It's been a fucking challenge, let me tell you. But one of the things that I've been trying to get better at is if you talk to some of my friends that knew me maybe 5, maybe 10 years ago, and you're one of them, there were certain things that used to get me so fucking upset that I could get almost violent and enraged.
Yeah.
And I would call people up. Like, for example, if I got a text that I didn't like and it didn't read the right way, I would be one of those people who would call that person back and spit venom out of my fucking mouth and lose my fucking shit, rip people's heads off, go fucking insane. I can think of some instances specifically where I really lost my shit on people.
Yeah, yeah.
And as I get a little older, and there's a few more gray hairs in my beard here, I realized that, like, you know what, this isn't fucking worth it. And now I kind of like, I read that text message, I take a fucking breather, I wait maybe 15 minutes, maybe an hour, and suddenly, it doesn't bother me quite as much, or I'm not ready to fucking kill somebody over it. So I've been really trying to work on that. And the reason why I mention it for you is it does kind of segue into texting. And I
Sure.
wrote a little something down here because I wanted to
Beautiful.
get this right. But I'm trying to just take a second to pause and learn to live and fight another day sometimes, not cause all this extra conflict, even if something that I don't like comes across my screen. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it's not right to fight fire with fire on every single battle. And
Scorched earth.
here's kind of what I'm getting at. We
Sure.
expect so much immediacy in our responses, and most times that's bad because we react on impulses that we later regret. So it's almost like, what I mean is, text culture has made it so that we feel as though, oh shit, I got to fire back as soon as I can, because that's a sign of respect in business. That's a sign of, I'm Johnny on the spot, I'll get right back to you. But sometimes if it's a negative text or something that might rub you the wrong way, that fast response is not a good thing, because you're going to find yourself responding in a very potentially irritable way, that you wouldn't normally. Maybe if you responded to that text an hour later, you'd be like, fuck, that was dumb. And because the worst part, and we've all been there before, raise your hand if you've been there. Mike, I know you're going to raise your hand. We have the unfortunate benefit of being able to, when you say something dumb to someone, it's like, okay, you're not going to really go back and replay the tape. When you text something dumb to someone,
Ah, yeah.
then you scroll back up and you reread what you said, and you're like, oh man, I was such a fucking asshole in this text. Or, man, I was so angry. Like, why did I fucking say that? Like, you get the evidence of your douchery right in front of you. So I'm just trying to, like, goal for 2024, and I've been implementing it towards the end of this year. Just fucking relax sometimes, take a breath, maybe respond to that person later, maybe respond to them tomorrow. But, like, don't feed off of the impulse and the anger and the fucking immediacy of that. "Oh, I got to get a response out, but I don't like what I got here, so I'm gonna fucking fire back something nasty." So I'm just like, trying to breathe a little bit more when those texts come in.
Well, I think that's great, buddy, and that's a sign of growth. And I remember, I got to share this, man. I don't mean to bring up dirty laundry, but
No, you can.
I, I recall that I used to play like a little, I thought it was funny, like you would make some type of post on Facebook, and rather than like, and I did like whatever you posted, but my method of like showing my approval was if, say like an Amy Wade or a Kim Kaling put some nice comment in the comments section, I would scroll down and like, Amy or Kim's comment as my approval. But what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't like the actual post.
It used to
And
drive me fucking insane.
and I did I mean I thought you were insane because you got really upset about it. And I said, well, this is kind of a rib. This is just me having fun, but I do approve of what's going on here, but I'm just kind of seconding a very specific comment. And honestly, I usually chose someone like an Amy or a Kim that was pretty positive in their nature to doubly express that I was genuine in my approval of what they were saying without feeling the need to write some literature myself. But that really upset you because you thought it was subversive in nature or something.
I feel like I might have even called you one day, like out of the
No, you
blue,
you you Facebook messaged me and you were
like
very
what
upset.
what the fuck, Mike? Why are you liking other people's comments, but you can't carry yourself over and like the fucking post?
Yeah, it was a Facebook thread. You got really upset about it, and I
Yeah.
I
I,
I just kind of chalked it up like, okay, Tommy's a bit insane, but it's okay. I just thought it was funny, but who knows? See, that's the problem, buddy, with social media is the lack of tonality and tone gets lost. So we don't see when someone means something or when it's sarcasm or when it's good natured fun, all that good stuff of humanity. That's why I prefer phone calls, buddy, because all that stuff gets lost in the typing. And I feel like that's a thing where, not to go into the kids these days routine, but I do feel like kids these days, they're so subscribed to their online presence that it's already overwhelmed their personality. And I do fear for people's social interactions, but that's a whole other show.
yeah, that's not a goal for 2024. But I'll tell you, that's one of my goals, just like to not, really just breathe a little bit because I've wasted a lot of time in my life, like getting upset about things that in a mere matter of minutes, hours, a day or two, it's not a fucking issue anymore. So I'm just trying to like, there's a great Buddhist phrase, which is no solution, no problem. And what it means is like if you really can't do anything to control an issue, then you don't really have a problem because there's nothing you can do about it. So it's kind of just like that one you're gonna just let go because we can't do anything about it. What are we gonna do? Sit here and waste our lives worrying? Um, all right, so that's my goal. And hey, when you're out there watching this show, even if it's after the fact, we would love for you to share with us your goals for the year. Uh, your goal to maybe get that first speaking line in a movie? Is your goal to just maybe be in a movie for the first time? Whatever it is, drop it down in the comments. And one of my goals for this year is I want to give back a little bit. Arnold says that you should give back, so I want to give back a little bit. So that's what this show's all about, guys. People often ask me like questions, and I tell them like, well, hey, you can hire me for consultation. You can literally just shoot me an email, and we'll set up calls, and we can talk about it. But I'm kind of opening things up a little bit to a degree where come on into action and drop your questions down, drop your comments down. I'm going to use this roughly 1 hour a week to be kind of like an open book. If you have your movie questions, here's where you can bring them. So that's how I'm gonna try and give back. I would love to have like an and action Q&A, maybe at the end of every show. So future filmmakers of the world, current filmmakers of the world, actors, writers, directors, producers, if you've got questions, my way of giving back in 2024 is going to be opening up the action hotline, we'll kind of call it, where like just and it can be from last week. Like if you're watching last week's episode on a rerun, just drop down your question in the comments. I'm checking them out. I'll find it and we'll make sure we address it on the next show. Let's get
Hey,
interactive.
hey, Tommy, I want to, not to pat ourselves the Barry Horowitz, thing too much, but to give both of us credit, I'll start with you. You had a goal that kind of been bouncing around your solar system for 2 or 3 or 4 years at least, and you accomplished that this year. And very good timing on your part because this took place just as the strike was coming to an end, which was you wanted to do an interactive in person film camp, a 1 day film camp, which I believe was that in October, Tommy?
Yeah, that was in October.
So that was a big deal, and I think that the positive repercussions. And what you had like 40 or 50 people show up for that.
Yeah, I'd say all told there were 50 beating hearts in the building.
So I mean, I think that was a big accomplishment for you because, like I said, that's something that you've been talking about for a while. You had done something similar maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but this was a different animal, so to speak. I think that one
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago was more theory. This was more hands-on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike. It's so funny, like you move so fast and you do so much. And I'm not saying that these moments aren't significant, they are. But I had already forgotten about the fall film camp, and I'm really excited that you brought it up because, a lot of people had a great time at that event, and I know a lot of people after the fact were asking me like, "Well, are you going to do it again? When's the next time you're going to do it?" And the truth is, like, I don't know. I don't know if I don't really have plans to do another one anytime soon. But I will say this: Mike Braga, my assistant, who's worked with me for a couple of years now, maybe even longer than that, maybe a few years now. It's uh it's his mission and what he's been working on really hard is to take the fall film camp and cut it into a video because we filmed it. I mean, you have to film it. It's a film camp, right? So we filmed it, and now people can purchase the fall film camp in 2024. So that's a goal of 2024. We're going to get that fall film camp behind a paywall. We haven't quite set a price point yet, but it was for a VIP ticket. It was $50 to come to the show, but people will be able to download the video for a mere fraction of that. Uh, and action folks, I'll give you a little inside track. It's probably going to be like $9.99 to download, something like that. So, for $10, you get the whole film camp on video and you can watch it back as many times as you like. So that's going to be something that we're going to be promoting soon. I'm really excited about. The Florist is a bit of a goal of 2024. The Florist is the web series that I produced and created with Glenn Ciano. It's a show that I'm excited about. It's my first foray into the web series world, where we're basically going to be shooting this episodic type show. It's basically our pilot episode. That's also going to be put behind a paywall at the beginning of the year. So you can be looking out for that. And guys, I guess this is an overarching, encompassing goal. Nothing wrong with distributors. I love them and I'm happy to have distributors that I work with. But my goal is to get a little bit into self-distribution a little bit. That's this is more of like a 5-year goal than maybe a 2024 goal. But my plan is to start self-distributing. So in 2024, you're probably going to see a Tommy DiNucci Patreon page, which is going to come out. And on that Patreon page, there's going to be various options to download various content that I have coming out. I'm seeing so many creators do this now. And again, nothing wrong with massive distribution, but the same thing happened in the music industry a while back where artists are starting to realize like, well, hey, there's also an avenue of income where I can distribute my own content. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm really looking into. And like I said, I don't think it's going to happen overnight. But I see a time, a place, a day when all of your favorite actors just have channels that you pay $9.99 a month or whatever to just watch their content. Again, I don't think it's going to happen next year, but I think in 5-10 years, you're just going to see everyone have their own platform that people can pay to get directly get it shot directly into their veins, basically.
Yeah, we're kind of there in some regards. I mean, I know that it was interesting. I saw John Schneider, who was like on the Dukes of Hazzard. John Schneider has an app now, so you got the John Schneider app,
There
which
you
I
go.
thought was interesting. But he does
Fairly obscure guy to have his own app. I mean, if that doesn't prove it to you, then what else does?
yeah,
And you
and
know what that comes from, Mike? The convention world has given guys like him a whole new life, where nostalgia's big. People pay a lot of money for nostalgia, and why not bring it into the world of apps and platforms? And I know you're on Cameo, Mike, so I know you've got Cameo.
yeah.
So there's a lot of ways that people can make money aside from the traditional route. So hey, as they say, there's money in them there hills, and I want to get involved in that too. So self-distributing is definitely a goal of mine. Maybe not just 2024. Like I said, that one might take a little time. Let's check in with everybody here. Ariana says, I always wait to send a text which turns into a new
Oh,
issue
I see.
where I just forget to text back at all. And I think we've all done that before. And I think we've all done this too. I know I have. And I'm saying fuck that to this in 2024, but I've done this where I'm like, oh man, it's been like 6 hours now. Like I can't text back now. It's been too long. And the reality is, guys, here's the deal. Like I have some friends that treat text messages like fucking letters, meaning like they're writing a letter and putting it in the mail. Like I'll get a text back from them in 3 days and they'll be
Right.
like, "Oh, hey bro, sorry, just saw this now." And you know what? I don't really give a shit. They got back to me. It is what it is. I think we put too much pressure on that. So like I'm going to try to stop talking myself out of responding to people because it's been too long. That's a big goal of mine. Charlie Short Films, what's up, brother?
Hey,
It's good
Charlie.
to see you, my friend, across the ocean. Charlie's
Charlie and I were both recipients of film awards from the same festival. I want to try
get
to,
out of here.
yeah, Charlie, if you can remind me, man, which festival? I don't want to mispronounce the name, but Charlie and I were both featured as winners from the same festival recently.
Well, congratulations, Charlie. We love to hear that. And congratulations to you too, Mike. Ariana says, "What's up to Charlie?" Charlie says, "My goal is to create faster, cheaper, and shorter films, as powerful as possible." I love that goal. Charlie, I would love to know, please tell us, when you say shorter films, what are we talking for runtime here? Because I think you're onto something. I really do think that, if someone could ever put like the production value of a great film into some kind of like 15-second to 30-second short, similar to like your YouTube short, within the basically a YouTube short is a minute or under, and a reel on Instagram is 90 seconds. So I think that's kind of the sweet spot. Like if you could ever, yeah, Charlie says 2 minutes. So, yeah, like that's, pretty much what we're talking. Like if you could ever find a way to tell a really highbrow, high octane, high budget, high production value is what I'm really trying to say, story in like 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that's kind of a cool notion. And I know, Mike, these are called what are they called? Microfilms? Is that what they call them?
Yeah, I mean, there's different names, different festivals. Like for instance, the short that we just featured last week won a micro short award, many keys for 5 minutes and under. For my film festival, Tommy, Avalonia Festival of Short Films, etc., going on its ninth year coming up. I have a category for 1 minute films and under, so literally a minute and under with a very small entry fee for those. And then the next one up is 3 minutes and under, which I call the 180 category because it's 180 seconds. And then on top of that, the big one, so to speak, is 21 minutes and under, which was originally 11 minutes and under. And you actually suggested I extend that one, so it went from 11 minutes to 21 minutes and under. That's Avalonia Festival. And another thing, Tommy, I accomplished this year was I started all comedy short film festival and all horror short film festival, which will be taking place in 2024. And then in 2025, I'll be adding the all documentary short film festival. And those festivals, Tommy, have the 1 minute category, and I went up to 5 minutes and under, and then 15 minutes and under, and 30 minutes and under. The point is that if you're a short filmmaker like Charlie, there's a lot of festivals that will give you a really nice discount for shorter. The shorter the work, the lesser the fee. And that's how I do things. Other festivals, most of them do, some don't. I'd be a little suspicious of the film festivals that charge you the same entry rate for a 1 minute film as a 90-minute film. If they're charging you $30 or $40 for a 1 minute film, I would suggest not entering that festival because it seems like a price gouge. They should really give you a nice discount if you have a short work like a 1 minute, 5 minute, type of thing. So a lot of stuff there too.
Well, I think that you're definitely onto something, Charlie. I think that, we see so many of these, like, again, and I'm, 2 minutes is great, but I'm talking like, what if you even went shorter than that? Like, what if you could tell a nice 60-second story, but with highfalutin production value? I don't know, it might be something great because it's amazing, man. I mean, like some of the videos, I'm constantly studying what pops on YouTube and what works and trying to modify it and adjust it to what I do. And I'm amazed a lot of the videos that I see that have just so many views, I'm talking millions of views, the production value is nothing. I mean, the quality of the actual video itself, the lighting, the performances, even the acting, if you will, it's not great. And it's just a niche. And I wonder if you were to take a really great idea, but produce it with high production value, could you kind of corner that market and really turn some heads? And the other thing is, and here's what's interesting about it, you got to film these movies vertically, right? You
Yeah.
know, I mean, like, I think that's something that, like, imagine if I've been seeing these a lot. Have you seen these on Instagram? And they're really cool. What if Goodfellas was shot vertically? What if Gone with the Wind was shot vertically? And they get these like amazing classic movies, and then they change the aspect ratio and they just tone it in and hone it in, I should say, and show you like what it would look like. And they look beautiful. A lot of them look great. So that actually was like an odd little goal of mine too. I don't think I'm going to put it on my goals for 2024, but someday I'd like to shoot a badass movie all vertically, like just all designed for the phone, like designed to just be watched like this. And the framing would change, everything would change, like it'd just be a fun like switch up because like now, like when you're framing a two shot, the actors got to be stacked a little differently. When you can suddenly like showcase what's at the top and the bottom of the frame rather than worrying about what's on the sides of the frame. So it would just be like a fun, like bizarro world to direct in. So that's a little goal of mine someday.
Yeah, you'd be amazed, Tommy, how aspect ratio, and I mean, you already have the idea, but I saw a video about the TV show Seinfeld, which was, created, I think, in 1989. It goes back that far. And Seinfeld, a lot of it was the interaction of the characters, right? And they're very close together, and Costanza and everything, and Kramer with his coming in the door. And so when you put the original Seinfeld show on a high def TV with a 16:16:9 aspect ratio as opposed to 4:3, it totally changes the dynamic because with that Jerry's apartment, everything now is stretched out. And so if Jerry and Elaine are like seemingly 4 feet apart as opposed to 2.5 feet apart from each other, or if Costanza and Newman are having an argument and they're not as face to face but they're pulled out, the person who made this analysis video was basically saying they've not killed the show, but they've lost a lot of the humor because a lot of the humor was, Costanza spewing off in somebody's face or Jerry's, reactions to Elaine. And aspect ratio is a big deal. So if you're thinking of making a vertical film, that's good if you go into it with that idea of how do I make this space work for this project, as opposed to how do I film something horizontally and then
Yeah.
modify it later.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the whole thing, prepping it and planning it to shoot it vertically. 'Cause that would be the only way you'd intend on distributing it, at least. So yeah, it's a wacky goal. We'll put that in the wacky goal category. Not necessarily at the top of the goal list, but somewhere at the bottom. Um, so yeah, guys, we'd love to hear your goals. Like I said, we're coming, we're coming up on our third act of the show here. We're excited to start a new year. I'll tell you, 2023. You never want to like frown upon any time on the planet because any time above the ground is time that we should enjoy and be thankful for. But I will say this: I am not sad to say bye to 2023. This has been a challenging year for me across the board. I'm excited to kind of see what a nice even number like 2024 has for me in store. And I'm excited to hear what your goals are. So, like I said, drop them down in the comments. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I don't have any specific YouTube channel goals for 2024, although I would like you to know I'm very close to approaching 1.5 million total views across the channel.
Right.
We're a couple 100,000 views away. Just got over 2,300 subscribers. So thank you very much for everybody who's taken a second to click that subscribe button. If you haven't already, I would love it if you did. And that'll keep you up to speed on everything that we got going on. Lots of great behind the scenes videos have been posted in the last couple weeks on my YouTube shorts. We've got a lot of great behind the scenes from The Last Tenet, which is the movie that I just directed. What was it now? Probably this time just keeps marching, man. That was probably like 6 weeks ago now already.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a lot going on. This was a really big year, but this is an interactive show. So remember, we'd love to know what you have in mind for this year. And if we can help in any way, we will. Charlie says, because it's hard to make it strong in so short notice. For sure it is. I mean, listen, it's hard to develop characters in 2 minutes, but it's almost like, it's a great writing technique. The writing technique that I love the most is start in the middle, So it's like start in the middle of the scene kind of a thing. And I
Right.
feel like if you were going to make a short film that's 2 minutes or less, you kind of got to start in the middle somewhere and have a lot of great context that tells the audience what happened before without saying a whole lot. But yeah, it's a challenge, man. But I think if done right, could get a lot of views on that one.
There's
Uh,
an
uh,
old cliche, Tommy, of screenwriting. I think it's enter late, leave early. I think that's in one of the Sid Field or Robert McKee, one of the classic screenwriting books. Is enter a scene late and leave early so that the audience has an opportunity to fill in some of the gaps rather than painstakingly say things like the man pulled into the driveway. He opened his car door and exited. He slammed the car door shut. Tommy, when I was still doing it, but a lot of short films or low budget films that I worked on, either as an actor or whatever, there were so many times I would see a film that would literally shoot the guy driving his car in the driveway, parking his fucking car, opening the car door, getting out, slamming the car. It's like, we get it. He pulled into the house and he went inside. You can kind of cut that down. You know what I mean?
yeah, they call that cutting the shoe leather out in the edit a lot because a lot of times these are shots that you're probably not going to use in the edit anyway. But I will say this: I have made movies that maybe they're shot in not many days, and you're stretching it, and you're trying to get to that proverbial 88-minute mark or 90-minute mark or whatever the distributor wants. And I'm definitely guilty of being like, normally I'd probably cut out of this shot, but I guess we can see the car drive all the way down the street and put some music under it. So yeah, shoe leather is a no-no, but if it's cheap and easy to get and you're already like shooting a scene where the guy has to walk in the house, I think it's okay to get a little something extra in case you need it, but it's all case by case. That's what's so funny about making
Right.
movies. There's no like concrete way to make to address every situation. Every movie is so different. You kind of have to create your own set of rules at the beginning of the film and then follow those rules for your movie. Um, but yeah, I agree with you, Mike. It's definitely just I like that. Get in early. What is it? Get in
Get
late
in late, get in
and
late,
leave
leave
early.
early. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you hit it, buddy. And I used to say this to people that would ask me, well, how do I get involved and blah blah blah, and I would basically kind of get upset, and I would basically think like, hey, if there was nobody could write a book with a table of contents of how do you get to be rich and famous and to be
Yeah.
the next Alfred Hitchcock or Quentin Tarantino or Spike Lee or Oprah Winfrey. Like if nobody could write that book, and the thing is, buddy, if somebody did write that book, people wouldn't want to buy it. They'd want to, download it from Reddit. You know what I mean? They wouldn't want to spend the $10 on that book. But you
No,
could
they
spend the
wouldn't.
money on my book, The Art and War of Directing Student Low and No Budget Movies. But another thing, Tommy, I wanted to get into, you mentioned earlier that you had that movie that kind of didn't happen in 2023, but now it's going to happen in 2024. It makes me think a lot of goals don't have to be calendar dependent. There's things that you can start in one year that can carry over for the next year, can carry over for the year after that. Sometimes I think we get a little too subscribed to the 12-month calendar. We get a little too locked into that. The reality, buddy, is like the U2 song says, nothing changes on New Year's Day. Anything that you started on December 31st, you can finish on January 3rd or 4th. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be so cut and dry, is what I'm getting at.
Yes, I agree, Mike. I think that a lot of people get a little too hung up on these numbers, these dates that man has created. Uh, and, a lot of times it's just about, I think everybody likes the idea of starting over. I think that it's more like, it's a fresh start concept. It's erasing the chalk off the chalkboard and starting fresh. Control Alt Delete. That's the hit. Control Alt Delete once a year. Reboot that bitch up a little bit. And I think that's all it is. I think that as people, we like the idea that we can change at any moment. And this is kind of just the universal time to check yourself. But just to recap before we go, guys, remember, try to reach out to people. You never know what people are going through this time of year. It's like it can get kind of depressing for some people. So check in on your friends, especially people that maybe don't have a ton of family, people that maybe don't have the warm, fuzzy holiday shit happening. Those are the buddies that you want to call and check in on this time of year. And have fun with it, man. I mean, remember, uh, there's a lot of corniness and cheesiness to all this happy horse shit that happens every 25th of December. But the reality is, it is a good time of year to check in on people that you care about. And that's what I plan on doing. And hopefully, maybe get a couple of fun presents from Santa along the way, brother.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting time, Tommy, and I think you hit upon a point. Maybe I'll expand on it. Like some folks are out there, they're pretty lonely at the holiday times. There's some statistic that's been bouncing around for a long time, like the holiday seasons are very high in suicides, which is depressing. But if you think about it, those that are kind of, maybe a divorced person or someone who's maligned from their family or whatever, they're more vulnerable to those feelings of being left out. And especially when you turn on the TV and even the Walmart commercials are bouncing the Mariah Carey songs, and everything is so, on the surface, so chipper. But the reality is there's a lot of people still suffering, not only in the world, but in our country, the United States and other countries that are watching the show. And as we know, there's world events that are going on that are horrible. And this is a time to kind of look out for those people that maybe don't have the traditional two kids and the white picket fence and all that good stuff. So take care of each other, look out for each other. But at the same time, don't forget to take care of yourself too, because that's another thing, Tommy. I mean, there's so many things that go on with social media now that are people asking for donations and contributions, which is great. But the reality is, a lot of people are just fighting for their own checkbook month to month, week to week. So don't forget to take care of yourself, because if you don't do that first, you can't really help other people.
You said it, Mike. This is a time to, care about your neighbor, check in on your friends, make sure that you don't, blow your checkbook on, some kind of ridiculous gift that you think might make someone happy, when really all they give a shit about is how you treat them at the end of the day, most likely. So I'm excited for a little bit of holiday fun, Mike. I'm going to be kicking it with the fam this weekend. And just kind of unwinding and maybe getting away from my phone for a couple days, unplugging, as the kids say. Won't be able to take my foot off the pedal too hard, because I do have this movie coming up right around the corner. Can't wait to share more about that. Mike and I are still teetering on the idea of maybe doing some kind of a bonus episode next week, but we most likely will just be shutting it down on the 26th. So if you don't see us, don't get nervous. We will be returning the following week for our first show of the year. We can't wait. Like I said, this is a very important hour out of the week when I get to spend some time with Mike, when I get to spend some time with y'all. So I wouldn't miss that for the world. We'll be back here in January, and don't forget to tell us your goals. Drop them down in the comments, and we look forward to. Like I said, I mean it. I want to give back, and on And Action, I want to be here too. Think of it like an advice column. You got a comment, you got a question rather, drop it in the comments, and I will do my very best, and Mike will do his very best to try to answer and give you some advice on, what we can tell you from our experiences that might help you out. Charlie says, Kim Adelman wrote a great little book about it. Make it big in shorts. There you go. Artists out there looking to do some short films probably should check out Kim Adelman's book. Charlie says, I wish you all a lot of new episodes of Van Action. Thanks for all your effort. Thanks, Charlie. We appreciate that, brother. It's always great seeing you on here. We love your point of view on this wacky world of film that we love so well. And yeah, guys, that's about it for this week. We hope everyone has a really happy holiday. Take some time off. Enjoy. Throw the diet out the window. Have that extra piece of cake. Life is short. And we'll see you next time on And Action.